all of a sudden, the car, it goes nuts. And it's like the radio comes in and out, the lights go on and off, and the power locks go up and down. To this day, that sound of and like just everything that could go wrong went wrong. And then, bam, car's dead.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep bringing comics. Keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers.
Use the phrase milk carton kid, but millennials don't remember.
You mean missing?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Remember it? No, but I didn't know what it is.
So it's like the idea of like a kid, a milk carton kid, like the missing kid. He goes, actually, what happens is he's out getting ice cream with his stepfather, and they get abducted by aliens, and the kid's missing for 17 years. And he comes back, and he's a fully grown man, and he remembers, but like, what does he remember? You know, it's very confusing. And then the authorities find him, and then they're like, yo, bro, where have you been? And he's like, I was abducted by aliens. And they're like, no, you weren't. And like, they're working on the theory that he has like severe trauma because, you know,
They assumed he was kidnapped by his father.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Or his stepfather?
Stepfather. And a lot of times, alien abductions, yes, some are real. I do believe that. However, some are manufactured memories created to mask a more horrific event. And, you know, if you look at a lot of alien abductions, like it is a very like crazy thing. So like they are working under the assumption that that's what happened to the kid. And so in order to prove his truth, he has to essentially escape from a hospital, from the police, he's got to try and find a way to communicate with aliens to prove that he was but everything he's doing that makes sense because that's what he has to do only makes him look
Crazy.
more insane. Yeah. So it's like a really damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. It's some intense stuff, but you know, I'm proud of it.
I'll give it a try.
Great. I'm gonna.
And for an extra $1, he won't sign it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll save the money.
Can I swear at you in it?
Of course.
Cool. This is a fun thing.
Can I just swear at you normally? Is that cool?
Of course.
Okay. I don't know if we had that kind of relationship, if I've earned that over the years or not.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
You've got such a weird hard sell of like a guy who just wants to leave you alone. Is it alright if I swear at you? That's fine, man. It's okay.
The Paybacks is the first book that got Elliot on our radar, and not only is it such a fun series, but they do so much with the in-between issues, and is in the collection. Is it have all like the interviews and the? My favorite thing in that book was they listed what comics the characters were reading that month.
Oh yes.
Oh God, it was so funny because it was very
heavy metal.
It was very current.
Yeah, it didn't age well because it's like I'm reading Sheriff of Babylon, and it's like
one of my favorites was vocally outspoken on the internet about Captain America being a Nazi.
Yeah.
Hasn't actually read the book.
Yes, that was right during Secret Empire, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. So like.
It was actually 10 years before that. It was very prescient.
Yeah, it was like we knew like Nick Spencer, right?
Yeah.
Was gonna do. We were calling him. We were drawing that hard line right then. Yeah, no, we did that because we were the first 4 issues were at Heavy Dark Horse, and then we did 4 issues at Heavy Metal, and like it was confusing to a lot of people. So we just decided to market it super current and try to get people talking about it again. I don't know if it worked or not, but that's what we did.
I mean, it's this thing that stands out to me, so I think it works.
Yeah.
I have to read hundreds of comics every month, and I still remember that.
I know you do. But yeah.
I'll give this a try too.
I want to read what he wrote.
I don't see this.
Oh,
the swearing.
it's very tame.
Yeah, well, I have been writing like "fuck you" and like a lot of fun like nasty things, and then when I sell it to kids, I write "stay in school."
But I like that the alien is flipping you off at the same time and saying
That's what
that.
that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I promise that
Figured there
when I
were
do
levers.
swear at you, it'll be a little bit harsher.
Okay.
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 I feel like you really got your money's worth for it.
Yeah. Like a darn it in there, maybe.
That's right.
Dagnabbit. Applesauce.
Cheese and rice, let me tell you.
Call me a dirt bag.
There may be a poo head coming. Just, I don't want to spoil it. Brian, if you hate paybacks, that's on me.
All right, I'll let you know.
As the non-writer of the book, that is my fault.
You want to send the inside of that there?
Sure, that'd be great.
Ooh, look at that fancy pen you brought,
Yeah.
just for that reason. Is that blue
and it's
metallic?
shiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's something for the kids.
But I don't understand why you signed it Daniel Kibblesmith.
Oh, because everyone loves Daniel.
Yeah, see, there's a D in the K. I see it. I see it right there.
DK, yeah, gosh. It's so fun going to cons with my buddy Daniel, who's very talented and my dear friend. But everyone loves him, and everyone's coming up through tables to talk to Daniel. And then, like, I'm there too. I'm like, hey guys.
You get that feeling pretty strongly right now?
I mean, people do like me a lot, so I feel like they come up to me first.
Mike's
and then-
usually the hit, man.
What you
Usually
can start
the
doing,
hit.
what you can start doing now though, is when you guys are at the cons, if you're sharing the table again, just like have him put his Quan and Woody all the way at the right edge of his table, and you put your volume all the way at the left edge of yours.
So they kind of butt. Yeah, there you go.
That's funny. I was thinking about replacing your challenger's choice, Quantum and Woody, with my Quantum and Woody.
Nice.
But, you know. Hey, how's it going, man?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. How have things been going?
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, summer, June was one of the worst months we've had in a long time.
Oh,
but
no.
July and August were real good. So,
Really?
yeah.
Huh. Why do you think that?
The Jonathan Hickman X-Men are bringing a lot of people back into stores.
That's great.
And they're coming in weekly because stores are selling out across the world
I know, it
so
took
quickly.
me so long to get my book.
Yeah, I believe it.
It took me so long. I just actually got them. I just got them, but only because I was at the source. I made that signing on time.
Well, I hope so. It's your hometown.
I know. And
It's your home shop, right?
But it is my home shop.
Yeah.
And but at the end of the day, Kelly, who also helps run the MCBA shows, was sorting through extras or returns or something. I don't know what he was doing, but
Probably drop. Like, that's how we got some extras, was from club members we just dropped.
right,
Yeah.
So he was sorting through those, and the stars happened to align where like there was
Perfect.
one of every issue was dropped, and I was like, mine.
Yep.
So it was pretty cool. We're recording now.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Think about what you're going to say about whomever you say it about.
I know, but I would never, you know.
I know.
But for Midnight Vista, you know, for the kids out there listening at home, indie comics is hard, and like, you know, having relationships with retailers such as yourself has been like a huge, like, amazing thing. in
That's
my
what you
life.
have to do
Right.
for anybody, and not even indie creators. Like, everybody,
Yes.
you need to have the relationship with your retailer, because that's the difference in moving the needle over the span of thousands of books. You know.
Exactly, and like that's why I felt so bad, like being late because
I wasn't even going to mention that.
I know, I
That
know.
doesn't need to come up.
but like I
mean, Jonathan LaMantia left in tears.
did he? Because I was
Yeah.
really looking forward to seeing them.
Lizzie, can you turn this down? Not that I don't love Fozzie covering ABBA.
Is this Fozzie?
Yeah.
But you know, it's just like I've been working in indie comics for a while.
Like, we turned the music down and immediately had a revving motorcycle
Yeah.
like that outside. Working in indie comics for a while.
And this is like, you know, some books do well than others, but like, you know, I'm at a point in my life I'm really trying to push harder for my own material, and so you have to take a look at the skills that you have or the things that you can do in terms of promoting, and it's like I can throw my body in front of my book, you know, I can do that. I'm still young enough to do that, so I decided to do a run of 5 stores from Minneapolis to Muncie to Indianapolis to Chicago to Skokie.
Yeah.
And I got a variant for 3 of the stores, which like was really helpful. But again, the reason why I wanted to come down in person is because like I recognize that a variant is net expensive already for most retail shops, and that's a big ask. And then it's a bigger ask if it's an indie book, and it's an even bigger ask if it's an indie book from a not, how should I say, marquee creator.
I think that's a fair way to say it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not disparaging myself, but if you're going to ask somebody to do something for you, you have to be honest about it.
I mean, if people look up the name Elliot Rahal,
Yes.
there's going to be
There's going to be a ton
lengthier
of stuff.
list of your CV is longer than people will realize, and they might even have some of it without knowing that you had done it.
Exactly. But my career's going fine in terms of like, right, but like I just know that like I'm not, as you were talking about Jonathan Hickman, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, it's just the reality of the situation.
But
So-
there's so few creators who are, and even creators who used to be Jonathan Hickman aren't anymore.
And, yeah,
So it's hard to stay there.
You have to stay engaged.
Yeah.
I wanted to come down in person and help push the variants, and then push the books where I could do signings and stuff like that. Because I know, because of like me coming down, or like maybe because of our relationship, you guys probably ordered heavier on this book than you normally would.
Well, Aftershock is making it easy for retailers to support #1 books. Definitely.
That's good.
And having a tour like this helps us support the future issues, because we will have had a chance to get more eyes on this book because of this event.
Yeah.
And hopefully because of this conversation we're having as well.
I hope
People
so,
will
too.
say, this guy, I got to find out more about what he does.
Yeah.
But we've been lucky enough to have had a relationship with you for years and have been fans of your work for a while. We co-sold someone on Paybacks
it's great.
because of how much we liked that before I even knew who you were as a human being.
Yeah.
I liked that book.
Yeah. Which is really, really cool for me to hear.
Yeah, and then to be able to meet you and have a relationship with you over the years, that's just a bonus.
Yes. And
Like it's not like, oh, we're doing this signing for our friend Elliot. It's like, no, we're doing this signing for a guy who happens to be our friend but happens to be a talented creator at the same time.
Right, of course. And like for me, on my end of things, not to like get spiritual or whatever, but there's like, the older I've gotten and the more I realize, you know, how everything is a fragile ecosystem. And it's just like that consideration and that kind of grace like means a lot to me. You know what I mean? And like I want to always be cognizant of that somebody's like going out on a limb for you, even if it's just a little limb, and it's like,
Sure.
you know, that means something.
Right,
you know,
but
'cause you're dealing.
don't take it so personally, because we're doing it because of your talent.
I know. All right, fine. I'm not gonna. We're fine.
Yeah, this could be a mutual adoration fest for a while.
Yes, but
Needless to say, you're here because we're fans of your work.
Yes.
You're here,
because I love this store.
right? So yeah,
And,
it
like,
goes both
also,
ways.
like you know, something I always admire about you is like, okay, do comic creators like Matthew Rosenberg wrote about it on Twitter a couple X months ago or weeks ago. But Matthew was talking about creators have to put muscle into it, and I 100% agree with him. However, I think, you know, I mean, that's true. Like, I notice retailers who put muscle into their work because the books don't sell themselves. That was Matthew's whole point, is that the books don't sell themselves. And, like, they do when you read them, but, like, there's so many of them, people don't know what to do. It's very confusing.
And he also has the retail background to support that, coming from Midtown, right? He worked at Midtown?
I don't know the answer to that
Okay.
question.
I'm pretty sure he worked at Midtown.
I think he's had retail
Yeah,
experience.
he
though.
definitely, I think it was Midtown, yeah.
But, like, I see your stuff on Facebook, and then, like, where I live in Minneapolis, like, you have the Midwestern Comic Book Association, which is a really nice group of like, community locals, and then also the markets that have been a little ignored, like Sioux Falls or North Dakota. I'm really good friends with Derek Magnus from... hi there. Hi, how's it going?
That's Kent, he works here, you can ignore him.
Oh, okay.
He was actually on the podcast last week, so
I see.
people don't need to hear from him again.
I see. Yeah, dude. Fuck you, man. Fuck you, dude. Like my buddy Derek Magnus and his friends started SuperCon in South Dakota, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and then they're working with their retailer, and they've really grown the comic book reading audience there. But they've like really tried. You know what
Sure.
I mean?
And I mean, coming from Minneapolis, you've got, you like we said, your store is the Source. And the Source, I've never been to,
massive
but
store.
it's got this great, I was going to say massive reputation, but you just beat me to massive. This amazing reputation. And I was lucky enough to be on a free comic book day panel at C2E2 with Nick.
Oh yeah, I never had the good fortune of meeting
the first C2E2, I want to say. Nick Postiglione
was unfortunately passed away. But he was, from what I understand,
beloved in the retail industry, and that's rare.
It is rare, but like the thing is that it's become. But there are retailers out there, like people like know you as a retailer. You know what I mean?
I that's what we strive for.
Yeah.
But we ultimately, it doesn't mean anything to me if they know me and don't like the store.
Of course, but the thing is, people love the store and people love you, and then like you get creators who understand that. It gets people excited. You know,
yeah.
And I gotta think it helps. But we could go. This is a whole different,
sure, yeah.
This is a whole different conversation that we're not having. Right
one
now.
quick thing about Nick I want to say is on that panel where it was at the time Chris Powell, who was still working at Lone Star, Nick and myself, and the whole point was like, how do you get people invested into Free Comic Book Day and what do stores do? Mm-hmm. And one of the things Nick had said was, we just fire up the grill and throw in some hot dogs and make everybody happy. And what are we doing right now?
I ate 3 hot dogs.
We had hot dogs today.
And I extra appreciate hot dogs because my wife and I have a running joke, and like she's my hot dog queen.
Okay.
And I am her donut king.
Excellent.
Yeah.
We also have donuts if you want a donut. We literally have donuts as well.
I had a donut this morning,
right.
and I had a candy bar in the car.
I feel like we were just trying to get all these food things around you without even knowing it.
I know. I love it, though.
So one of the things you've been doing lately with your creator-owned work is digging more from your real life.
Yeah.
When you did Hot Lunch Special,
yeah.
That was based off of...
Inspired by my family a little bit. A lot of stories and people and characters and tone was inspired by my family because like half of my family is like Lebanese and sort of like a coming to America mafia story about like some of the things that my family did to cement themselves but then make it, and then like also the drama that occurred and the choices and the fallout from some of those legal choices. But it's very much also a fiction story about a small town crime-adjacent family that becomes full criminal.
Okay.
That's how I would describe it. It's all about sandwiches.
Which is one of my favorite things. So
Yeah, they're great. And then with Midnight Vista, which is what I'm doing the tour for, like
Midnight Vista, which just came out this week.
Wednesday, yes.
Covers by Wando and Riza, and interior art by
Clara Meath and Taylor Esposito on letters, and Mark Englert.
Mark Englert, who did a lot of interior stuff for Revival.
That's right.
That Mike Norton drew, who was your co-signer today.
Yes, that's correct.
See, it's a very
all coming together. And Revival is a book about rural Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And Tim Seeley used to live, I believe, in
Wassuwa,
Eau Claire, and like I'm a Minnesota boy now. So part of the tour was I kind of with Hot Lunch Special took a back seat because I was working with a new publisher and I didn't want to overstep myself.
Okay.
And then with Midnight Vista, I decided, I need to do more.
This is your story to tell.
Yeah, and so I really put an extra effort in, and people have been responding to it, and it's been a real great joy. And this book. So with Hot Lunch Special, I wrote about my father, and with Midnight Vista, I wrote about my stepfather and my mother. When I was a kid, I had a close encounter, or what I believe or interpret to be a close encounter. And there's two, like the story, my story in itself is unspectacular. However, the story compounded with my stepfather's story is interesting to bonkers. Love those covers. I love those incentive covers. So do you sell those for $10 or do you sell them for cover price?
Yeah, we're not a markup store.
I'm just wondering.
Yeah, we tucked them aside because we didn't want them to go. We wanted people to have a chance here for them, and then we forgot to put them out. But that way we can at least get you to sign them.
Absolutely.
We did a signing for a Vault book, and there was an exclusive cover.
Oh, yeah.
And...
By the way, Vault Cult Classic Creature feature available to order now.
What? Who wrote that book?
Elliot Rahal did.
What? Oh man, I always say Rahal, but it's Rahal.
Don't worry about it.
It's a hard A.
It's a hard A.
Okay.
But it's also a made up last name.
I also feel like you've told me that before, and I just don't remember it.
It's I don't even care at this point, because it's just...
I feel like it was Kibblesmith who told me to say Rahal.
Yeah, he probably
I bet it was.
I mean, whatever. His name's
so,
dumb anyway.
I didn't want to take away from the point we're in the story, but so your stepfather's story and your story, was it the same story from different eyes, or he had a story?
Same story from different eyes.
Okay.
And I'll explain them both. and then what I would describe as a prologue.
Okay.
And the epilogue is, I was a little indoor fancy boy fat kid who was very quiet and 8 years old, and I wanted ice cream one night. There was a power outage, and this happened in the suburbs of Illinois around Clarendon Hills, Hinsdale area.
That's where I'm
And-
from.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, me too. So
Where'd you go to high school? Or how'd you
Hinsdale
move away?
Central. I went to Hinsdale Central.
Bastard, I'm Hinsdale South.
I know. I'm sorry, man.
Ugh.
You fucking idiot.
Oh, whatever. What was the Sentinels?
We were the Red Devils.
Red Devils, right? Yeah. Yeah. We were the Hornets. What's more menacing?
A devil.
Yeah.
Actually, a hornet, because the
But there
hornet
was
is real.
a liquor store called the White House right by Hinsdale Central where we didn't get carded. So
Really?
we were always over there. It was a bar that sold.
Oh,
I guess
remember
packaged
the
goods, yeah.
Bolognese.
Yeah, White House is what we called it. It wasn't its
Okay.
actual name.
Yeah, I remember. They got
Yeah.
rid of that place.
Well, they should have. They were selling to underage kids without.
Whatever.
We didn't need to show ID
Bunch of fucking narcs.
But we loved it. For that reason. And we're like, we're in enemy territory.
But, you know, it was a different place to live 25 years ago. I don't like the place. I don't ever go back there now, really. And I much prefer living in Minnesota. Not to whatever. But
Well, that's all the time we have for Elliot today, everyone.
I'm so sorry. It's my own personal hang-ups coming through.
You're allowed to live wherever you want. You're allowed to put ketchup on a hot dog. I don't care about any of those things.
Okay. But so basically what happened is there's a power outage. We go to the Jewel Osco in Downers Grove on Ogden.
This story is becoming vivid to me because
Right.
I know that Joel Osco.
So I lived by the Shell
FYI, Dow is a Downers Grove South, so we can agree that he's just garbage.
Trash.
Yeah.
True
Mustangs,
trash.
come on.
I mean, you might as well live in Westmont.
That's where my brother lives.
I know. I'm so sorry. They're all bad. But so I lived by the Shell station. So
Okay.
we left around. What I remember is that we left around like 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Was it dark yet?
It was
With-
dark.
depending
It
on
was
time of
dark.
year?
It was
Okay.
dark. It was darkening, or at least, and so it was a school night as well. And so we left to the Shell station. There's a power outage. There's really bad storms that night, and there's a power outage. And so we couldn't get the ice cream because the freezers were broken.
Yeah.
And so then we went to a DGN and to the Jewel Osco, and this Shell station was like 4 minutes away from my house, and the Jewel Osco was 15 minutes away from my house on a bad day. So we're not. The point here is that I'm not traveling far.
Right. It's a very short distance.
Yes. And so I get it. I get what I remember to be a pint of Chunky Monkey ice cream in my lap, and driving back, and we are driving, and then we are turning the corner onto our house, and we lived near O'Hare, and so we are 3 houses away from my house, suburban houses. So if something goes wrong, it is a 30-second walk and a 5-second drive.
Yeah.
So we're turning the house, and what I remember is we're turning the corner. All of a sudden, the car, it goes nuts. And it's like the radio comes in and out, the lights go on and off, and the power locks go up and down. And I'll, like, to this day, that sound of and like, just everything that could go wrong went wrong. And then, bam, car's dead. And I remember in my memory seeing the clock, 10 o'clock. And my stepdad got out of the car, checked the hood, closed the hood, got in the car, turned on the car. It was fine. We get home, and it's 12 a.m.
Jeez. That's a double time jump.
Yeah, I mean, like, I remember, like, it took us probably an hour to get there. I'm just saying, like,
Okay.
I have about
There's several hours that are
several
unaccounted
hours
for.
of unaccounted missing time. And so that's where the stories diverge, though.
Okay.
Right? So we reconverge. Going back, what my stepfather remembers is similar course of events. You know, we debate about he has different time. He says I bought more ice cream than just 1 pint.
Okay.
Stuff like that. Again, as a child.
But as
So,
far as the time difference, is his less or more?
consistent.
Oh, okay, okay.
They're like, we just have different details.
Okay.
But a consistent time difference. And what he remembers is the car stalling and dying, and then a large light. How's it going? I wrote this book. It's very famous, and by very
Right away.
famous, if you want to listen, I'm describing the
Based on
closing
real life
con-
events.
Based on what I remember is that a car stalled and died. My stepdad claims that a large light was overtaking us, and as I said before, we lived near O'Hare Airport, and he thought it was a plane crashing on us.
Okay.
And so he said he remembers grabbing me, like to
Bracing for impact
bracing
or-
for impact.
yeah.
And then the light diffused and disappeared, and he just assumed
Let me
that
flip through this as you listen.
he just assumed
Sure.
he just assumed that the plane passed by. I know, man. Never trust a guy in sandals. He turned the car on, and we went home. And then that's where the stories reconnect, because we get home and there's missing time. And then my mom, I remember being fine, and and opening the door, and as I was opening the back door to my house, my mom opened the door at the same time, and was just
Where have you been? I've been worried sick.
furious,
What happened? Yeah.
absolutely furious, and we're trying to explain it to her, and she's not having it whatsoever. So that story, have you heard about that story?
I haven't.
Okay, so basically what it's about, it's a little bit inspired by a close encounter I had when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then also, do you know a milk carton kid? Like the idea of a milk carton kid,
Yeah.
a missing kid?
Yeah.
It's about a kid who becomes the missing kid of where he's from for 17 years. And people assume he was taken by his stepdad, and some bad stuff happened there. But in reality, he was actually abducted by aliens. And so he comes back 17 years later as a grown man, and he remembers. But the question is, what does he remember? 'Cause he's
No
very-
one believes him.
No one believes him.
They think bad things happened, and the more he tries to convince them,
Correct.
the crazier he sounds.
Yeah. And
I'm
that's
sorry, I was just jumping in as a retailer. Too.
No, yeah. And just came out this past Wednesday, and I'm out promoting it, and yeah, that's it. My name is Elliot.
Good to meet you. Alex.
He's on a tour. He's on a tour promoting this book.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where else are you going?
I was in Muncie, Indiana, at Oh Yeah Comics in Muncie, and then I went to Downtown Comics in Indianapolis. I started in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, where I'm from, and now we're doing Challengers here, and then we're doing Oh Yeah in Skokie tomorrow.
Picturesque Skokie.
Picturesque, exotic Skokie, Illinois.
That's your thing to look up.
And if these are my personal collection of books, but if you pick that up, you're supporting the store, which would be great. So, no
Well,
pressure as I back off into
I
this.
have one question, and then
Yes.
we're going to leave it so people have to pick up the book to get more sense of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Did the ice cream melt?
The ice cream was missing.
Whoa! I did not see that coming.
Mm-hmm. So, as we were at home and my mother was confronting us, and now this is the part of the story where my memory fails.
Okay.
So you need to understand that, because the things that I'm going to tell you from here on out, the things I told you are things I remember, and they're already very high strangeness. So the things I'm about to tell you are things I have no recollection of. I have some memories of them. However, it's just going to get weirder, and I really think it's important to put that asterisk.
Okay. We've been warned.
There you go. Give you love on social media, though.
Thanks, man.
And I'm following you guys.
Cool.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Basically, my stepdad, where I don't remember anything, my stepdad says he remembers everything. Because I didn't know that there was more until the story, until about 5 or 6 years ago. And he says through memory and trying to remember, he remembers a lot more.
Okay.
So when we get home, my mom is it's a school night, and then she notices me very sick looking, and my stepdad is really sick looking. And then she takes off all my clothes, and I have a rash, and then she gives me a bath. Then she asks me, where were you, sweetie? And I drew these pictures of different creatures in shapes and craft that I still have to this day.
Are you going to print them in the final issue
I
of
think
the
I'm
book?
going to put them in the trade.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And then, so there's that element. And I don't remember much of that. I remember drawing, and I remember my mom being really mad. And I remember that. Now, here's where we get into extra no remember territory. So, and let me explicitly state something for those listeners out there. I do not believe that I was sexually assaulted.
Okay.
I understand how somebody could think that, and I am aware of that. However, none of this has ever happened again. Nothing ever like it has ever happened again. I love my stepfather very much, and I just don't. Nothing ever like that would happen, you know? So, with that being said, what my stepdad remembers through his active memory or whatever he describes it as, because he's really into New Age healing and stuff like that, is that I'm going to have a difficult time explaining this because I'm not even sure I believe it.
You don't have to go through this.
Oh, no, I think it's fun. I mean, I'm into it, but the thing is that, like, no matter what words I use, I'm not going to use the right ones.
Okay.
So he believes that we were taking on board a craft. Now, that craft itself was not in his... Okay, well, he is saying that these were not aliens, but rather interdimensional energy beings.
Okay.
Right? So we're already off to a great start. And so that this craft, although made physical to transport us, was not, in fact, a physical craft. It was more of an energy, almost like a lantern construct. And that these beings themselves weren't physical beings. However, they were taking shape through... They were energy beings, and they would take shape through psychic power and through our reaction to them, possibly.
And I'm assuming through what your expectations of shape would be.
So that's interesting that you say this. So one thing my stepfather shared with me is that he remembers coming to on a operating like table and being essentially powerless and immediately like a scared animal, very frightened. And then he looks over to me and he sees me on another operating table, and I'm scared. Well, no, I'm passed out.
Okay.
And then he sees above me or hovering over me or hanging over me or whatever the beings themselves who were shapeless, or like not shapeless, but they had form but no form.
Not a form you could describe.
Correct.
Yeah.
Then according to him, I was regaining my consciousness, and I was disoriented, and I began to cry and become distressed.
As anyone would in that situation.
Right. And so immediately when they picked up on my distress, they changed form into something physical and pleasant, and according to him, and then began to soothe me, and I was fine. And then I sat up, and like we were buddies, you know, at that point. Like we became, it became like I was no longer, like the only one who was scared was my stepfather.
Okay.
Right? I would, like, all fear had been taken from me. And I was, and they did not seem like supernatural demon creatures. They were like made to be normal in my brain, is how my stepfather would describe it. Although I was still like wondrous about it, you know?
Sure.
So in Midnight Vista, I use grays because I think it's just an easier touchstone. And I use physical implants and surgeries because it's easier. But, so they did, and according to my stepfather, implant things in me. However, those implants, they didn't cut anything. They didn't make any physical incisions. And this is all energy-related stuff. They're putting, like, their fucking energy in me. I don't even know how to describe it, you know? So they didn't...
Especially since you were 8 years old. You're not going to...
Oh, I mean, I don't remember any of this. So this is what my stepfather is telling me. This is the only story I have. So they didn't, is it the word vivisect? Like, not dissect, where like they cut you open and like do shit to you. So they didn't like do that to me. However, they did implant things in me. And that implantation also was not a physical construct. It was a energy construct that my stepfather claims is still inside me today. I asked him if is still inside of us, and he said it is. And like,
Same happened to him, though. He also had the same.
Yeah,
okay.
all the things that happened to him happened to me, and me that happened to
Gotcha.
him. And then like, they took DNA from me. They asked me questions. I recorded a podcast interview myself just to hear him tell me all the things they did. But there's like a lot of stuff. They did these weird little tools and like all this stuff. And there's like really no explanation of why they were doing it other than like, this doesn't hurt you. Like, this is like not a big deal. Like, you know what I mean? And then it ended when I finally said, I want to go home. And as soon as I said I want to go home, according to my stepfather, that's when everything stopped, and we were in a minute
Back in the car.
and he turned on the car, and we went home. And like, you know, I don't know how to feel about that, right? I don't know, because like, I don't know. Like, do I believe my stepfather? Like, I have lived a life of, like, this has been a story I've been telling a lot of different ways for many, many years. And, you know, I always tell it with an asterisk or a smile, or like, I joke around about it because that's how you make it palatable. But, like, you know, I get annoyed when people don't believe me, or when people take what I'm saying as an absolute joke or something. And am I doing the same thing to my stepdad by like not believing him? But it's like, well, if I believe him, that is some really intense stuff, you know? So it's a really big question. And I must say, in the process of writing this book and in the process of exploring these feelings again, I've always been, like, my head's always been in the clouds, like, ever since that day. Like, you know, I've always been, like, up here, you know?
Sure.
And, like, which is fun, but it makes things complicated when you need to pay your bills, because it's like, you know, you need to put your feet on the ground.
At some point.
At some point.
Not every single day, not every single second,
Right. But
you need to touch ground.
Mm-hmm. And so when I was in high school, I became Catholic out of nowhere, because like I was like yearning for truth.
You personally, not your family, not
me. I
okay.
became Catholic. That was my teenage rebellion. It was like getting really into spirituality and religion. I then like had a hard falling out in college. You know what I mean? And it was real hard. And I was like, I'm an atheist now. And like, you know, I discovered pot, and I was angry. And
A lot of Catholics are.
yeah, and then there's a lot of things that can happen for reasons like that, but like I, you know, as I've gotten older, and also through like love of my wife, and like understanding what real love is, and how love is grace. And it sounds like I'm a Christian. I'm still not, but like there are some things and words that they have that I think are appropriate. Like, grace is a real thing, and like forgiveness is a real thing, and love is a real thing. So I had already been feeling these feelings for a while, and because like I'm just like I look at my life, and do bills get tight? Is working in comics hard? Of course. But like I look at my life, and I'm making comics, married to a beautiful woman who I love so deeply, and it's like I got great friends like my friend Mike over here.
I've heard of that guy.
I know, and like, you know, I have this ability to come here and speak with you, and like you buy extra in my books, and
Sure.
It's like my life, this is a beautiful life, right? And it's just like sometimes it overwhelms me, you know. And so through specifically working on this book, and then also some conversations I've had with friends, I realized that I'm not an atheist anymore, or not even, I wouldn't even call myself spiritual. Like, I'm not a Christian only on the basis that I have a difficulty with the divinity. And this is not meant to offend anybody out there.
Of course not.
But
This is what you're saying about you.
yeah, I have I have a difficulty with the divinity of Jesus Christ, and like that, you have to be that's like number one rule.
Yeah,
like
that type of confusion does not lead to easy secular inclusion into
Correct.
Catholicism.
But at the same time, like, I really want to go to a church again. I really want to go to church again, and I want to find a church that fits me. And like, I don't think I'll ever get there really, but like, appreciate what I really have come to understand about churches and places of worship, and why it's such like a holy thing is that like it is just a building for people to go be really weird in for about an hour or more.
Unabashedly, and not feel bad for
and not feel
what they
bad
believe in.
for it. And it's like going to Comic-Con. We
Yeah.
go to Comic-Con
Yeah.
and we go to comic book shops because we want a safe space to enjoy the things we love. Like, ideally. And like, ideally a church is just a place where we can all give each other the space and the grace, and also together we're gonna fucking be weird. Like, and it's totally cool. You know what I mean? But it's like, I wish it was more explained to me like that, because I get that so much
Right,
more.
but would you have gotten it if someone just told it to you without you having to get there on your own?
Yes. I mean, that's a very good point.
You had to earn this.
You do. And the thing is that
It can't
like,
just be given to you.
and like, again, it's all cultural too. Like, what are you comfortable with? I want to find a church of very quiet Midwesterners who are like reverent together.
Yeah.
Like, but that is the type of spirituality I'm comfortable with. Some people obviously of different faiths or different denominations is very different. But like it's all about how you worship. But like being in that community, I don't know. I like these are things I want to do, and sometimes I feel so stretched thin, and it's like hard. But like I'm thinking about having children soon, and like I want to,
These are things you want to understand so you can pass it on to them.
Right.
Or to answer their questions.
Or create a house where they feel like they can talk to me, right?
Yeah.
Rather than just go to church. Like, we can have a conversation or something.
Hopefully, Midnight Vista writing it, this experience helps you come to more of those understandings.
Yeah.
And hopefully people who have their own types of questions of self and faith will find something out of Midnight Vista as well.
Totally.
Elliot, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Patty.
Mike, thanks for your patience. What are you playing over there?
Little old computer game on the cell phone called Archero.
By the way,
Archero.
it is Mike's birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah. Your present is hanging out in this store.
It's been fun.
All right.
Mike's a great friend. I'm lucky.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.